dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Carmouche. This evening we take a look at a fast-spreading COVID-19 variant that is sweeping across the country. JN1 is now the most widely spread iteration of the virus. Samantha Valentino sat down with a Lexington physician to learn what you need to know about the newly dominant COVID variant.
Like most things, COVID-19 is constantly changing. These changes can sometimes allow different variants to spread more effectively.
It may be more infectious. Because it changes a little bit, your body may not recognize it.
That's what the CDC says is happening with JN1. They've been tracking the COVID-19 variant since September. In October, it made up less than 0.1% of all COVID cases. Now, that number has shot up to about 86%.
Right now, JN1 is the predominant variant. It may be a little bit more transmissible, which means people can catch it a little easier, but it doesn't appear to cause more severe disease.
The CDC says there's no evidence that JN1 poses an increased risk to public health relative to other variants. However, its rapid spread means there will likely be an increase in COVID cases.
The vaccine works for this variant. It looks like it's going to work, so get vaccinated. If you've been around somebody, get tested if you need. If you have symptoms, get tested.
Data from the CDC shows just 11% of the U.S. population received the latest COVID vaccine.
The vaccine rate is way lower than we need it to be. So the more people we get vaccinated, the less we are to spread that virus, the less we are to have new mutations, and therefore possibly worse disease in the future.
In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
According to the CDC, COVID hospitalizations among all age groups increased by 51% over the past 4 weeks. Free COVID tests are still available through mail. You can find a link to order them in this story on our website.
Bit of a dreary day across southern and eastern Kentucky with rain and snow falling across the mountains. Let's take a look at what's going out there right now. Downtown Hazard, courtesy of the Hazard Perry County Tourism Cam at Triangle Park. You can see a lot of rain, temperatures into the mid-30s. Staying rain right now at Jenkins, but just up the mountain, we are getting some reports of snow at the top of Pine and Black Mountain, and we're seeing that on First Alert Pinpoint Doppler radar. You can see especially from Whitesburg over to Harlan, some of that is showing up as snow, and some of that will likely stick in the highest of elevations tonight. Satellite and radar shows that we are continuing to watch more moisture stream in from the north and west. So it's going to be a couple more hours before we get this mess on out of here. Temperatures, though, above freezing for most of us, so that will prevent it from sticking in most locations. It's just going to be the highest of elevations, and that's where we have a winter weather advisory. Wise County and Harlan and Letcher County above 2,500 feet. You folks may see 1 to 3 inches of snow by tomorrow morning. But for most of us, while the flakes will fly, they're not going to stick. However, what will stick around are the colder temperatures. We'll have more on that coming up here in a few minutes, Madison.
All right, Shane, thank you. As many folks in Perry County are still without water, one nonprofit is still doing its part to eliminate some of the burden. Roscoe's daughter will be set up in Leatherwood at the Cornetsville Fire Department on Monday starting at noon. They will be providing hot meals while the county provides water. A man accused of murdering his father and grandfather is set to appear in court tomorrow. Austin Prather is charged with murder, attempted murder of his grandmother, robbery, and tampering with physical evidence. Police say the crime happened in early November and Prather was arrested a day later in Indiana. A status hearing is scheduled Monday at 9 a.m. in Pulaski County. Several Kentucky Democrats have filed a House bill that would repeal the state's anti-trans law. Last year, lawmakers passed Senate Bill 150. It bans gender-affirming health care for kids in the Bluegrass state. It also bans schools from discussing sexual orientation and gender identity, bans trans kids from using the bathrooms of their gender they identify with, and allows teachers to use pronouns other than the ones the student prefers. Supporters of the Senate Bill 150 say it's all about protecting kids, but Democrats say it does the opposite for trans kids. House Bill 3 76 would repeal Senate Bill 150. Representative Adriel Camuel from Lexington talked about why they're doing this.
Appalling is the only word that I can come up with. It was cruel, it was intentional, and it harmed probably what I would consider the most vulnerable, one of the most vulnerable communities in the state of Kentucky.
If passed, Representative Camuel says the House bill would also provide a more caring LGBTQ+ environment in schools. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet announced an entrance closure in London for Monday. The entrance of the London Marketplace off of Kentucky 192 will be closed from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. The project is a part of the Kentucky 192 congestion project. All businesses will remain open and drivers can enter through the intersection between Captain D's and Crystal. Most folks have had their run-in with an unfriendly pothole a time or few before. But how do we know when those potholes are starting to take a toll on our cars? One car dealer says to slow down before approaching a pothole, grip the steering wheel, and never brake when your car is in the pothole. Experts say if you notice unalignment following a pothole incident, you should get that checked.
You could potentially create more damage to the front end of your vehicle, knocking it further out of alignment, and it's knocked the alignment out. Could have also damaged, the tie rod ends, the ball joints, anything in the suspension. I mean, there's a laundry list of things that it could be.
If you see a pothole on a state-maintained road, such as an interstate or federal highway, call 1-800-PATCH-IT. With more rain making its way into our region, highway transportation leaders are reminding people to be careful when driving on wet roads. If you drive too quickly through standing or ponding water, you could hydroplane and crash. Officials with the Kentucky Highway Department say to play it safe and drive slow when it's raining, no matter what type of road you are traveling on. After a fire burned down his business, one Leslie County man is picking up the pieces. Nearly 2 weeks ago, Double H Auto and Towing caught fire. Since then, owner Jesse Campbell says they have opened in the garage on their property. However, they have had to borrow and purchase tools in order for them to operate.
We had to start over with everything, and a lot of this stuff is borrowed. We had good friends that loaned us, the boxes. None of these boxes are ours. Everything was, we spent every dollar we had buying new tools back. And people loaned us tools, people gave us tools. So we worked as hard as we could getting this ready. I mean, this was nothing.